Hi everybody, this is Penny Smith and I am the Quakey Queen. And as promised, this is my next video regarding my journey with essential tremors. I hope you enjoyed my introductory video. Tonight I'm not wearing my crown, got a little headache going on, don't want to exacerbate it. So I thought I would kind of outline how long it took for me to get a diagnosis. I think this is a very familiar story with a lot of people that have neurological conditions where a lot of things are heaped upon um, diagnoses that tend to dismiss the patient. So I thought I would let you know how mine went in hopes that that might help you if you're trying to get a diagnosis for some type of neurological condition. So in my previous video, I told you about how my symptoms progressed, where it started with my thumb, then went to my finger, now my jaw tremors, and I'm having leg tremors, and now my right hand tremors more than my left, but now I've got right hand tremors. About the time that I had the leg tremors and the left hand started getting worse, and I started getting a little brain fog, a little imbalance, I had the horrible thought that I might have either MS, which I had a lot of the symptoms, and either that or Parkinson's disease, which I had some of the symptoms as well. Not as many because my tremors are on movement, not on rest, which is common for Parkinson's. You have tremors at rest. But with my gripping my left hand and my right hand shaking like that, I thought maybe there might be a Parkinson's component. So I made an appointment with a neurologist. Here in the Hampton Roads area, sorry, allergy eyes, it took me approximately 9 months from the time I made the appointment until I actually got to see a doctor. It was actually a year between the time I made the appointment and the original doctor. But then I got a call saying the other doctor in the practice had a cancellation and would I like to come in at about 9 months? I said yes. So I took that appointment. I went there full of hope. I had a lot of notes. I had kind of in my brain what I wanted to tell them about what was going on with me and the things that weren't normal for me. When I got there, I checked in. I was put into an exam room. Very nice staff at the reception office. The doctor and the physician assistant walked in. She looked at my chart briefly, asked me to tell her about what was going on. I told her some of the things that were going on. She said, "Oh, I see you're on Celexa." And I said, "Yes, that's for anxiety, but I've never had tremors with anxiety. I've just had the overwhelming feeling of anxiety, but it doesn't cause actual physical tremors for me." She had me walk across the room in the room, which most exam rooms, it's very small. She did a little tapping on my knees, tapping on my shoulders, did a little push-pull test, no strength testing, and proclaimed that most likely this was all due to anxiety. Well, I kind of looked at her and went, "Well, can I please have an MRI to rule out any neurologic problems that would show up on an MRI, like MS, because you'll see lesions in the brain with that, or Parkinson's, where you'll see some brain changes as well. I just want to make sure none of that is going on." She reluctantly said okay to that. As I was leaving the office, she came walking down the hall and said, "By the way, your B12 is low. You need to start taking more B12. Now, mind you, this was in the checkout area where everybody in the reception area, including the people sitting in the waiting room, could hear her tell me about that, which is a flagrant violation of patient privacy. From the time I walked in and signed in and the time I was back in my car was approximately 10 to 15 minutes. I was the first appointment of the day. She walked in, didn't ask me any questions about anything else going on, didn't want to know about my symptom progression, didn't want to see any of these symptoms, sent me on my way, and I literally sat in my car and cried. I called my significant other and said, I can't believe I was just dismissed that quickly. And he said, you're already done with your appointment? And I said, yes. And it has literally been 15 minutes since I parked my car and then I was back in my car. And I sat there and sobbed for a good 15, 20 minutes before I could actually drive. I had waited 9 months for an appointment for someone to tell me I had anxiety, which I already knew, and to send me on my way and to tell me to take more B12. When I went back to the doctor's office, I went back for a follow-up visit and I saw the nurse or the physician assistant. He had been there. It was his very first day when I had been there from my original appointment. So I went to see him because he usually did the follow-up visits. And I told him my concerns and my displeasure with the lack of examination and the lack of depth of my examination on my first visit. And I told him I was not happy at all. I felt like I was being dismissed. I know this is not anxiety. I've had anxiety for years. I've been on medication for it. It's worked fantastic. This is not anxiety. Please help me understand what's going on with me. So he looked at my MRI results, and of course there was no MS, no brain lesions, no brain tumors. So I knew that was good, which I was very thankful for because I did not want to have a diagnosis of MS. That's a very tough diagnosis to get. I didn't want a Parkinson's diagnosis. So I was glad there was no mention of that. He basically kind of listened to me and told me that, well, let's try medication. And he gave me something called propranolol, which is actually a beta blocker. And it actually is used many times for people with high blood pressure. The one side effect that it has is that it slows down your heart rate. Now, when I walked in there and did all of my, let's take your blood pressure, your pulse, your oxygen, your temperature, all that stuff, I have a low heart rate anyway. It runs about 56 beats per minute on a normal day. Most people run in the high 60s, low 70s. So I just have a really low heart rate and have a really low blood pressure. It just kind of hangs that way. I have another condition, thyroid, that causes all that to happen, but that's kind of my norm. So I took it a couple of days and it made me feel like crap, and my heart rate dropped even further. So I knew that was not the medication for me. I did ask him if we could do something else, and he said, well, I really think this is uncontrolled anxiety. And that is what they put in my chart as well, from the original visit and to this visit, even though I told him I was not happy with the lack of examination and consideration for what I was trying to tell them, which they didn't even bother to ask about. So he put me on another drug called primidone. And actually it's an anti-seizure medication. And I was very scared to take it because he gave me no instructions about what it was about or what it would do or why he was giving it to me. He just called in a prescription and said, try this. So I didn't take it. I made another appointment with a different neurologist here in the Hampton Roads area, and it was literally going to be a year wait before I could see that neurologist. And I hung out for a while, and as my symptoms got worse, I said, I can't take this anymore. I've got to find out what this is. So my daughter actually lives in Greensboro, North Carolina. And on a whim, I called down there to a neurologist in her area in the same kind of health practice that she goes to. And I found a wonderful neurologist named Dr. Hill. And his office said, yeah, we can get you in about 2 months. And I said, well, that's great because they can't get me in here in Hampton Roads in a year. And she about dropped the phone. She said, are you kidding me? And I said, no. Why would I be living in Hampton and call Greensboro to get an appointment? You are in my network, so I know my insurance will be covering you, but I'm that desperate. to get a diagnosis. So I went down there. My daughter went with me, and my appointment was over 1 hour long. He did every test. He had me walking up and down the hallway. He was testing strength. He was testing my reflexes. He had me pour water from one cup to another so he could see the tremors happen. He had me show him my tremors. He had me give a detailed history of how everything developed. And he looked at me and he said, "You don't have Parkinson's." And I said, "Thank God." That was the one thing I was worried that I did have, because I knew I didn't have MS. He said, "You have essential tremors for sure." Most people that have this, about 50%, have a familial or a inherited link between somebody else in the family that had tremors before you might get them. So there's actually, it can kind of be passed down among people. I don't have any in my family prior to me that has had tremors. So he said, "You're one of those 50% that just developed essential tremors." He sat down and explained to me that the medication they tried to give me before would really help, but he explained to me what it was, how it would work, and how we were going to monitor it. He also said that if I needed things to help me do things in daily life, that he would definitely look into that for me. I said, "No, I'm good with that right now. I just wanted to know what was wrong with me." He did say I needed to get more exercise in order to strengthen my core, because I have balance issues thanks to the essential tremors. I am a wonderful klutz now. So he told me some things to do. He said, "I'll get you a physical therapy consult. I think maybe going to the gym might help me. So I'm going to try that first. Try to do some core work, some gaining strength in my legs, because my legs tend to be very weak because of the tremors." He said, "Great. I want to see you back in 6 months and we will check and see how you're doing. In the meantime, start this medication. Call me if you need to change your dose, either up or down, because you feel like it's too much or not enough, and we'll keep an eye on you." So I will be going back to see him in July. I have had to contact him one time to up my dose because I didn't feel like the current dose was keeping my tremors at bay during the daytime. I still have them, but they're a lot more manageable. So when I'm moving my mouse around my desk or trying to put papers in, the upped dose has actually helped make that a lot smoother, and it doesn't bother me as much during the day. I can really tell when I forget to take my medicine, because I have to take it at night because it makes me sleepy and woozy. And the first time I took my Primidone during the day, I went to work that morning and I literally walked around like I was drunk, because I couldn't keep my balance, because I was so kind of woozy and kind of out of it. And I basically just sat at my desk and said, "Everybody, y'all need to bring things to me because I'm not safe walking around." So I switched it to nighttime, which is much better. So I'm thankful to the heavens above for Dr. Hill and him actually believing me that I did not have anxiety and that this truly was a neurological condition, and that he explained to me that it will get worse over time, but we will manage it as it goes along. He said, "I can either keep you as a patient, pass this on to your general practitioner and let her handle it." I said, "No, you're the first doctor that has believed me. You're the first doctor that has given me information that I need. You're the first doctor that's actually told me what I need to do, helped me, understood me, listened to me, and you're going to be my neurologist forever." So he was very kind, very caring, very thorough, and I appreciate that from him. So that's my story. Like I said, I go back in July for a checkup to see how I'm doing, to see how things have progressed. I've noticed some increase in my tremors, especially in my jaw, in my hands. My legs are about the same. So we'll talk about that when I get there, but I'm sure he's going to have me pouring glasses of water and grabbing things and trying to do things to see how much it's progressed. He did tell me that it will get worse over time, and that we'll look at other options when it becomes bad enough to where the medicine doesn't help and it's interfering with every little thing in my life, where I can't brush my teeth, or I can't do my hair, or can't put my makeup on. Um, I can't do those activities of daily living, and they become very difficult. We'll look at options in the future. But for right now, I am seeing a slow progression, but not too bad. So, for anybody that has had this diagnosis and you've gone to see multiple neurologists, I get you. I understand. I truly believe that there are people out there that have essential tremors or have other neurological conditions, and they look at your chart and they think anxiety. You've been diagnosed with anxiety. Well, this is just uncontrolled anxiety. And maybe for some people it is, and they need to look at different options for medications for their anxiety. But when you have neurologic problems, a good doctor will help rule that out, will help try to find out, is this neurological or is this just the anxiety? They won't just pin it on that and send you on your way. I'm still in disbelief that I spent 15 minutes at my very first appointment and got the diagnosis of uncontrolled anxiety, which is well documented in my chart. It's embarrassing for someone to put that in your chart, for you to have to send that to another doctor and say, well, they just think I'm anxious. I'm not anxious. I have a neurologic condition. I know what anxiety is. And I'm sure a lot of people out there who have essential tremors, you know what anxiety is, and you know this is something different. The best advice I can give you is push on. Find another doctor. Your insurance might prevent you from going to another doctor. A lot of times doctor offices may have multiple doctors. They will not let you switch from one doctor to another in a practice. Go to another practice. I unfortunately, when I went to Dr. Hill in Greensboro, I'm pretty much going to have to pay out of pocket, and I'm paying them right now for that visit. And probably the one in July, I'm going to have to pay for it too, because my insurance sucks and they don't like me. So they're probably going to make me pay in full for that as well. It's totally worth it. I'll work 3 jobs in order to make sure that I keep the neurologist that I have, who actually believes me and doesn't think that I'm faking it or I'm just an anxious person. So I hope that helps you understand my journey with getting diagnosed with essential tremors. Please, if you have any questions or concerns, or you have any comments, or you want to share your story, please put them in the comments below. Invite all your shaky friends to like and subscribe and comment, because I'd love to hear your story and see if it's very much the same as mine. Again, Norman's trying to make an appearance on our video here. Thank you very much for listening to my story. I don't know how many people actually have listened or watched or commented. I haven't even checked. Maybe this is just for me, but I really hope that a little bit of what I've said might comfort you, or might give you ideas about how to get your diagnosis, or just know there's other people out there that have been through what you've been through. So with that, got to put it on at least once. This is the Quakey Queen, and I'm signing off. Y'all have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.